If you've ever dreamed of writing a book someday, you're not alone. Close to 1 million manuscripts are submitted annually to publishers, editors, and agents, and of those, about 100,000 new titles are published every year. Some books flop and grow dust on bookstore shelves and end up in the bargain bin. And some become bestsellers, which is every publisher's and author's dream. But just what does it take to get a book from the author's mind into the reader's hands? And how does it become a success?
As an editor, it feels like everybody that you talk to is writing a book or wants to write a book or thinks they could write a book. So those people are curious from the perspective of a potential author about how their book might find its way into print and into the hands of readers. But I've already found, just from talking to many, many authors about this, and this is, I think, a problem for publishers. It's something they don't do as well as they should. Publishing is sort of a black box to authors. Even people who have been published don't really understand what happens once they hand their work over to the editor or to their agent. And I hope that this will explain to people who are being published by traditional publishers or people who are starting to think about publishing themselves, or people who are beginning to think about, I want to be an author, or as you say, an English major who's got an idea of, I'd like to write something. Here's how the sausage is made.
That's Peter Ganay, editor and author of the new book, What Editors Do, The Art, Craft, and Business of Book Editing. He says that if you were able to peek into the windows of a major publishing house, one thing you wouldn't see would be editors poring over manuscripts with a pencil.
That work tends to get done when they get home at night or on their weekends, or maybe they sort of take out their iPad and read something on the bus on the way home. But you'd see people in a marketing meeting talking about how we're going to get attention for this first novel. An editorial assistant sorting through a pile of photographs, trying to figure out which ones are going to go in the photo insert of a book, or calling up people and trying to get permission to use those photographs. You'd almost certainly somewhere in a publishing house see an editor buttonholing a colleague in the hallway and saying, I just got this wonderful manuscript we've been waiting for a year, and the author just delivered it, and it's everything we expected, and you got to read it tonight.
Ganay says book editing is one of the few careers that is still learned through apprenticeship.
When you start out in the business, you usually begin as an editorial assistant, kind of the bottom of the totem pole, and you learn about editing from working with editors. There's almost no publishing house that has a training program for people who are starting out. There are some universities and colleges that have courses in publishing, and that's been a bit of a growing phenomenon. But most people who get into publishing have to kind of learn it on the job.
If you've ever read author acknowledgements, you'll know the author almost always thanks his or her editor, often saying something like, this book wouldn't be half as good without so-and-so's help. But how much help? How many words on the page come from the author and how many from the editor?
The philosophy of book editing, which is different often from editing in newspapers or magazines, for example, is really that the book belongs to the author. And even when you're sort of deeply involved in something as an editor, and authors are usually very generous about crediting what their editors have done, it's always your goal to make the book the best version of the author's conception of it that it can be, not to impose your taste or your ideas on the author. So even if you're editing a book, and marking up every paragraph in some way, which is not at all uncommon, you still are doing it in the service of the author's idea, the author's expression.
Even authors of great classics written by the likes of Faulkner, Hemingway, and Woolf had editors.
There was actually a movie called Genius that came out about F. Scott Fitzgerald, Thomas Wolfe, and their editor, one of the great editors of all time, Maxwell Perkins, who worked at Scribner's. Perkins kind of famously literally took a manuscript that was about the size of a refrigerator from Thomas Wolfe and shaped it into a best-selling and classic book. But not every author needs that heavy an edit.
That being said, editing the manuscript is not the only thing a book editor does.
The first thing that editors have to do, and in some ways even more important, is find books to publish and determine which books are going to get published and see those books kind of into the marketplace, you have to think about the market when you're acquiring something. I've talked about this in certain forums, and authors kind of tend to jump on me and say, every book is an artistic thing and it's not about commerce and so on. But the fact is that your job as a publisher is to put the author's wonderful, unique, artistic book in the hands of readers. If you're going to publish something effectively, when you acquire it, you have to think about who's the potential reader for this. It's not enough really to say, I love this book and it's wonderful and it's a unique voice or whatever. That's the first thing. That's the first threshold you want the book to get over. But then the next thing is, who is going to respond to this?
One thing is clear, however, the editor has to love the book, not just think it could sell.
You're asking your colleagues, what do you think about this? And somebody from marketing says, oh, we can really sell a lot of these. The books that you acquire that way, sort of cynically or with an eye to the market rather than to your own enthusiasm, are always the ones that are the worst publishing experiences, because it's just, you have to invest so much of your own time and energy in any publication as an editor, and that's true for other people along the publishing chain, that if you don't love the book, it just becomes a drudgery. And the flip side of that is, when you really are excited about something, it's easy. I mean, it's never easy because there's so much work that goes into publishing anything. But we've all had the feeling of, we read this book, it was so great, we can't wait to tell somebody else about it. We know just the person who is a friend of ours who's going to love this book. You want to tell them about it. And that's really kind of what editors do, just on a larger scale.
Gane says literary agents are a vital component of the publishing industry.
The agents are the people who filter out the giant tsunami of manuscripts before the publishers have to do the filtering. I mean, they're the pre-filter. The first role of a good agent is, as an editor, when an agent sends you something, you know that they've screened out 100 other things to send you this one book proposal or manuscript. And by the way, you're going to turn down things from 99 agents to acquire one book that you're excited about. I'm maybe exaggerating the numbers there, but probably not all that much.
Which is why so many authors these days decide to self-publish.
The number of books that are being published has exponentially grown in the last several years, thanks to particularly ebooks and also Amazon and other online sellers that have made it so much easier to publish your own works. There's a huge explosion in self-publishing. The increasing technological things that made self-publishing so easy for a while led to arguments that publishers are going to be extinct. Who needs Random House or Scribner's when you can just put the book out there yourself with a few clicks? But one of the downsides to it from the author's point of view and from the commercial publisher's point of view is it just floods titles onto the market, so it makes the problem of finding something good to read all the more challenging for a reader.
Gane says editors provide a valuable service to readers when there's so much competition out there.
The marketplace is so crowded. There's so many books competing for people's attention. I mean, you know that there's literally hundreds of thousands of titles are published every year. How do you get one book to stand out? The selection part that editors do of plucking something out of the stream of titles and manuscripts and saying, this book is really worth your attention, and here's why. That's a more valuable function than ever for readers and for sort of culture in general. The average consumer has got Angry Birds and Twitter and the news at the end of their fingertips on their phone. You've got to really present something that's worth taking them away from Candy Crush to make it successful.
Gane's book includes essays by top editors in the publishing field and covers topics from small independent book publishers to major publishing houses to how to self-publish. Who knows? With a good idea and a good editor and some luck, maybe your book will become the next bestseller. You can learn more about the role of editors in Peter Gane's book, What Editors Do: The Art, Craft, and Business of Book Editing. For information about all of our guests, log on to our site at viewpointsonline.net. You can find archives of past programs there and on iTunes and Stitcher. Our writer-producer this week is Polly Henson. I'm Gary Price.
Individuals and businesses with tax problems, listen carefully. Do you feel like you're losing control of your finances? If you owe over $10,000 in back taxes or have unfiled tax returns, we can help you take back control. The IRS is the largest and most aggressive collection agency in the world, and they can seize your bank accounts, garnish your paycheck, close your business, and file criminal charges. Take control of your tax problem now by calling the experts at U.S. Tax Shield and take advantage of the Fresh Start program and new laws that may allow us to negotiate a settlement for the lowest amount possible. Our team of tax attorneys and enrolled agents can stop collections and get you protected so you can take control of your financial future. U.S. Tax Shield offers a price protection guaranteed quote to get you protected today. U.S. Tax Shield is A+ rated with the Better Business Bureau, so call now. 800-568-1647. That's 800-568-1647. U.S. Tax Shield. 800-568-1647.
What are you going to do with your old car? You can try selling it, you could junk it, or you can donate it to Heritage for the Blind. Your car will be towed away for free and your donation is tax deductible. Just call 1-800-835-1478. Heritage for the Blind accepts cars, vans, trucks, and boats. It doesn't matter if your vehicle runs or not. It will be towed away for free, and you'll be supporting those that need help. Heritage for the Blind is a nonprofit organization that helps the visually impaired live fuller lives. Call right now to donate your car, and as a special thank you, you'll receive a free 3-day vacation voucher to over 50 locations. Call Heritage for the Blind right now. Call 1-800-835-1478. Donating is easy, and your vehicle is towed away for free. Plus, you'll get a free vacation voucher for donating. Call now, 1-800-835-1478. That's 1-800-835-1478.
And that's Viewpoints for this week. Viewpoints is a production of MediaTrax Communications. You can follow us on Twitter and Facebook to learn about upcoming shows and find a library of past programs on iTunes. Plus, you'll always find podcasts of our segments and information about our guests at viewpointsonline.net. Join us again next week for your public affairs magazine, Viewpoints.